Hello YouTube, this is the Copernicus and you're watching my Let's Play of the Direwolf20 mod pack Season 2. So in this episode we're going to get into a lot of cool things. Specifically we're going to automate the Peer Daisy hopefully, and maybe get into some higher tier machinery. So you got that to look forward to. I'm going to think of a cool way to do some automation around the Peer Daisy. There are some ways I know for sure that I could do it, but they're not the most exciting of ways. So hopefully I can come up with a new, interesting way to automate that. Wow, that seems to be doing rather well. I'm glad that all this cursor got kept intact. I was wondering if it would survive or not, so good to know that it's doing its job there. So yeah, I'm going to come back in just a minute when I can think of a neat and fun way to sort of automate the collection of our living rock and living wood. Alright guys, so I was messing around and I found a way to automate, or semi-automate, the growing and collecting of living rock and living wood. So I've already done it once with living rock, but I'll do it again by hand to show you guys how I did it, and how we're going to do it for living wood, because it's pretty much the same thing. So for this we're going to need a new type of transfer of items. Before we use the item ducts from thermodynamics, now we're going to have to change it up because we need to have both item transfer and the transfer of the redstone signal in a single block space. And to do that, we're going to use Ender IO conduits. We already used the fluid ones of these guys for I can get out of here. We already used the fluid ones for our lava here, the fluid conduits. But now we're going to use item conduits, which are right here. Pretty easy to make, just that conduit binder again with some pulsating iron, which is just iron and an ender pearl and alloy smeltery. And what's nice about these kinds of item transfer is that it lets you have the item transfer, as you can see there, but you can also see this other line, which is an insulated redstone conduit, and that transfers redstone signal, and they're both in the same block space, and you can even have energy and fluid all in this one block space. So that's what's awesome about Ender IO conduits, and they give you some really cool functionality and control over them. So we'll start from scratch over here. So we have the Pure Daisy, and I've made this block placer from open blocks. Real simple recipe here. I guess I made one too many, but we're just going to go and put them through here. What they do is pretty much place blocks, you guessed it, based on their name. And to make them right side up, we are going to have to give them a little whack with a wrench here. So right click them twice. I made a new wrench, by the way, you'll see why in a minute. It's called the Yetta wrench. It's the wrench from Ender IO, which is what we're using for these conduits. And let's see, I think I'm just gonna break this one, get these two, and we'll just do that. Get that guy back, and get our dirt and our Pure Daisy. There you go. So we have our block placers. They're ready to place blocks, and you can easily tell where they place blocks because of that big hole on them. That's the direction they place blocks. They have a 9-slot inventory, which doesn't matter too much right now. We're not too concerned about their inventory. But we're going to go and start laying our conduits in. To do that, I'm going to get down here, and I think I'm going to break this dirt block just so I can see. Oh, I don't need this dirt block. Perfect. So we're also going to want to prevent this line from connecting with this other line here since they're so close together, but I'll show you how to do that in just a minute. So we're going to lay our conduits down like this, and you can see they automatically connect to the blocks there. And to prevent them from connecting here, all you have to do is give them a right click with a wrench and they will not connect. So this item routing line is totally separate from this one, which is exactly what we want. And while we're at it, we're also going to lay down our redstone conduit here. You can see you just right click them in there. Real easy. And again, they're connecting up, so we want to prevent that. We want these to be two totally separate systems. And then to configure them, you see that brown plate that's touching the block placer there? You right click that, and then you get this nice GUI with all these tabs on the right hand side. Right now, we only have items and redstone, so that's the two conduits we have running. So for item conduits, we only want this to insert, and that's pretty much all we need. We're just telling it, instead of extracting, it's inserting. You can tell it by the direction of the arrows there. And redstone, usually they'll connect to things that are redstone enabled by default, but sometimes they don't. So we're just going to change it from default to in and out, and now you can see that redstone line there also coming in. So I'm just going to do this for all of these. Same thing. Insert in and out. Insert in and out. Well, it looks like they reconnected when I changed them to in and out, so let's go ahead and disconnect them once more. Not a big deal. Insert in and out. Insert in and out. And the last one. Okay, so now that is pretty much set up. And the thing you have to know about these block placers here is they only place a block when they receive a redstone signal. So how I have it set up here, once I harvest these, I'm going to change this. I think I might have it on a timer or something, but right now I just have a lever that when you click it, it places all the stone there, which is exactly what we're going to do over here. So, whoa, my flowers disappeared. That's weird. I had all my day blooms right here. I didn't remove them. I guess there was a bug or something. Well, that kind of works out in my favor actually, because I didn't want these things so close together. So we're going to move these while we have the opportunity. I'm going to put this right there, and these guys right there. We can actually move this. So that works. I'll probably wind up moving this mana pool setup very soon. I'll probably try to use the mana that's in there and then move it. But in the meantime, I want to keep these guys generating mana. So what I've been doing is just coming over here, dropping a few blocks of coal for them. There we go, and they're back to generating mana. Okay, so back to this guy. We need to bring these lines out where we're going to activate them, and I think we're just going to do it on the same kind of deal that we did this guy. Let's see, right here wouldn't be a terrible place for the chest and lever. So that, and then we're going to run our redstone there, and our item conduits one higher. And just because I know we need to do this, I'm going to, if you shift left click on a conduit bundle like this, it'll ask you which direction you want to edit. I want to do the upside and force the redstone to be in and out, so that when I put a block here, let's do cobblestone, you can see the conduit is then facing into the block, which lets it receive a redstone signal. We're going to use some sticks. Again, this is going to change, but for now we'll just throw a lever there. And then over here we need a chest. I think I'm going to make it an iron chest just because we can. So, actually, we already have a chest. Iron chest. There we go. Just for the extra storage space. So we're going to put that right on top of there. And we need to configure this, so hopefully I can just pop in there. Doesn't look like I'm going to be able to do that. There we go. We want it extracting at all times. And this is one of the key parts here. We're going to want round robin enabled. And basically what that means is it tries for every item, every single item, it'll pull out and evenly distribute between each spot it can. So hopefully when I put a stack in there, you know, it'll evenly distribute between all the block placers, which It's what I'm kind of hoping for, but thankfully both wood and stone are very easily attainable, so I can just throw a few stacks in there at a time and it should be fine. So I'm actually kind of curious what happens if I throw a stack of wood in there, which I think I have lying around. If I throw a stack of wood in here, let's see what happens. So you might do like 4 at a time. Yeah, that's what it's doing. It's doing 4 at a time round robin. So once it's done here, you can see 8, 8, 8. So yeah, that's pretty good at it. Perfect. So there you go. So I'll distribute all those evenly, which is great. We can close this up for now. Close this hole up. I want to make sure it's lit down here, which it looks like it is. That's good. Ooh, it's not over here though. That would have been a bad day. Even put some on the outside of here just in case. Alright, that looks better. Okay, so now when we flick this lever, bam, all this would appear as courtesy of the block placer. And I think I'm going to do a very similar thing with the block breaker. Unfortunately, the block breakers require a diamond pickaxe because they can break obsidian. So I'm not too sure about that at the moment. I might try the Mine Factory Reloaded block breaker. It does use power though, so I'm not sure on that one. Let me think about what kind of options we have here, and I will come back to you guys when I have a solution for this little problem. Alright guys, so I thought long and hard and I couldn't really find a great way to break the blocks. I did find a way, but unfortunately it's a way that I'm not really going to be able to explain to new people. So I still have it where I kind of rearrange some things. So I press the button, all that comes up. Press another button, all this wood comes up, and it slowly starts to get transformed by the pure daisies. And then I have what is called a turtle, and basically it's like programming within Minecraft. I just don't have the time to explain it all, or the knowledge really. There are countless tutorials on just computer craft alone because it's so in-depth and so complicated. But what you need to know if you don't know anything about this is basically this is like a little robot who runs off fuel. So I just put a bunch of coal in him and refueled him up a bunch, and I wrote a tiny little program that whenever it detects living wood in front of it, so when this oak wood changed to living wood, you'll see it here, all it does is run a code that mines straight, mines down here, mines over here, and pretty much just mines out all these things, comes back, deposits the wood and the rock inside the chest, and then waits and turns around and waits for it again to change. And so that's his whole life. So we're just going to wait just a second or two here more for this stone and wood to change into living stone and living wood. You might not do it right away because he has a sleep timer, so he doesn't constantly check. But he checks like, I don't know, once every 30 seconds or so. So you should see him jump into action here before too long. Come on, turtle. Don't make a liar out of me. You know you want to. Sometimes it feels like you're waiting forever even though the timer is just going down. There you go. You can see he detected there's living wood in front of him, and he just goes through. You can see his little let's see, his inventory right there. Just picking up everything. And you can see this should increase in the chest. There you go. More living rock, more living wood. And now he's just waiting again. So that's kind of my way of automating the picking up of this. I could also set these block placers on a timer, so they kind of, you know, once every few minutes or so place down some rock and some stone and wood, so that it constantly, you know, gets refilled. But I don't have the greatest supply of wood right now. You can see there's only about 10 left in each of these, so I think I'll hold off on that. Maybe I'll do a redesign of this once we have like a tree farm going, and some other stuff. But right now, that's good for that. But I wanted to get something else from Botania. This is really the main reason why I started showing you guys Botania and why I wanted to get into it so early. It's called the Sojourner's Sash. This pretty much makes you move faster, and you can walk up 1 high blocks, you can jump a little higher. It's basically a movement buff, and it requires these different runes. You can see here, these runes are crafted in the runic altar, which I happen to make. It's pretty easy. A mana diamond with some living rock or mana pearl, depending on your preference. And pretty much anytime you see anything that says mana in front of it, it just means the regular version dropped into a mana pool. So, aka mana steel, well, this one's a little bit different, but is iron dropped into mana. And what did I say here? Oh yes, like a mana pearl, it's an ender pearl dropped into mana. So, pretty easy stuff. I reorganized this a bit too, you might notice. A little bit more out of the way. What we're going to need here, I think we're going to do it this way. I don't know. This will work for now. So to get mana out of the mana pool and into something else, you put a mana spreader facing away from it, and I think you should already see it fill up. Yep, there you go. The mana spreader's already filled up with mana from the pool here. And then, again, you just have this end pointing towards what you want it going into. So I'm going to place the runic altar right here because it requires mana to operate. So when this is ready to accept mana, it will come from the pool into the spreader and shoot into the runic altar. And so it's pretty easy. You can see here, again, nice NEI integration. Requires 3 mana steel, any kind of stone, a block of coal, and a mushroom. So I've got all that right here. You just right click it right onto the altar and you can see it nicely floats around it like that. Got our 3 mana steel. And all you have to do then is right click it with your wand. You get some fancy graphic there telling you how far along the crafting is. When that green circle is totally around the rune, it will be ready. But there is one more piece to the puzzle you have to do here. So once it is full, there you go. And you can see also like sparks flying off it, letting you know it's ready. What you have to do is throw a piece of living rock down on top of the altar to be etched into the rune you're trying to make. And then you right click it. Some more fancy sounds. And there you go. I got some runes of earth. So I'm going to do this again with some different ingredients here. There's a whole bunch of different kinds of runes you can make, by the way. But I just want these 2 for the sash. We have a decent supply of mana. I've been using a lot of coal to fuel these guys, which is why in a minute we're gonna use we're gonna make a different flower to hopefully increase our mana production even more. Because you do need a lot of mana to get into some of the higher tier stuff. So that's ready. Get a piece of living rock. Voila, more runes. The reason I got those for the sash, and you can see it's equipable in the baubles menu too. So where we put our ring here, this is the sash slot on the bottom, or whatever it's called. And there you go. And you can see I immediately start running faster. You can jump higher. I guess it doesn't quite allow you to walk up 1 high steps. Maybe that's the Globetrotter sash. I kind of forget. But thankfully I can't quite jump over that wall just yet. But I'm still a little bit faster, so nothing wrong with that. And what we're also going to do with runes while we're at it is make a new type of flower, like I said. And the one I plan to go with is the, I'm going to butcher this, Gormreleus? Whatever. Anyways, it's a flower that eats food to produce mana. So you can read all this, but pretty much what it says is that the flower eats a piece of food, and depending on how much saturation and how much hunger the food refills, that depends how long and how much mana it generates. And it can also only eat 1 at a time, and if you drop more than 1 on a single flower, it will eat both of them and only produce the mana from 1. So do not feed it while it is still producing mana. And you can do that by checking it with your wand there too. So, to make this Gormalaeus, Gormalaeus, I don't know. Bunch of different kinds of petals. That's easy enough. A rune of fire, which is kind of simple again, just some nether brick, gunpowder, nether wart, and mana steel. And then a rune of summer, which there's some basic runes. I'll show you kind of here. Hopefully they come up easily. There's some elemental runes like water, fire, earth, air. I guess those are the only 4. Those are pretty basic. Those just require components to make. But then you get into runes of spring, summer, autumn, winter, and those require the base runes to craft into the new runes. And generally you get a lot less. Like for the base ones, I think all of these you get 3 for crafting, but any of these, or most of these higher ones, I think, besides a couple of them, you just get the 1. So they're a bit harder to make, and they're going to take a bit longer, and for that reason, off camera, I'm going to get a bunch of all these ingredients, and probably make, I don't know, 3, 4 of these Gormalaeuses to feed our mana production. So we'll be back in just a minute once I've done all the very tedious work of crafting these. Alright guys, so I went ahead and I made 4 of the Gormalaeuses. Gormalaeus. Anyways, and they were a bit of a pain to make, but whatever. Price you pay for better mana production. And so we'll grab some food here. There we go, some steak. And so I'm kind of just been throwing one on each of these guys. And you can see mana just flowing in. I'm not sure why only that spreader is running. If you see here, I added a second mana spreader because with just one, it was getting full and not being able to shoot the mana fast enough. So I added this one, and then if you shift right click in the air with your wand, it turns it into bind mode, which you can kind of bind things to other things, like you can bind flowers to certain mana spreaders instead of just having it auto detect. So I've got these 2 flowers in the front here. You can see a little colorful line pop up around the mana spreader to the left when I hover over them. And these 2 flowers right here bound to this mana spreader. So I'm not really too sure, because when I put one on each of these, it's this guy that fills up, and this guy doesn't get any at all. So I'm wondering, maybe what's happening is like one flower is eating all of them accidentally, kind of thing. Like maybe I should spread these out more. But another thing that occurred to me is that I'm going to have to get large amounts of food to create large amounts of mana, right? And right now we've just been using apples, and that's not the greatest or most renewable source for food. So I thought about it, and you can kind of tell already over here, I built a section for a farm. So I added just a few things to start off with. Right now I have an energy conduit from Ender.io. I'll show you how to make that. I think we've already done this before, but really easy. Iron and redstone in the alloy smeltery with some more of that conduit binder. And it transfers 640 RF per tick. That should be fine. All we're using it for over here is 2 machines, so it shouldn't be too bad. And eventually I'll maybe make this whole setup produce its own energy, so it's self-sufficient, so I don't have to use my magma to power it. But I've basically got this energy line going underneath the ground all the way over here to the energy cell, and you can see it ends right there. I think I need to grab some more, or maybe even make some more. Let's see here. Yeah, I think I'm fresh out. So 3 of those, 3 iron. Pop those in the alloy smeltery there. Once I turn it to alloy mode, we'll let that cook up for just a minute, and we'll connect that up. But what we're going to use for this farm to do it automatically is a mod called Mine Factory Reloaded, or MFR. Mine Factory Reloaded adds a bunch of different machines to kind of automate the laborious tasks of Minecraft, like killing animals, breeding animals, chopping down trees, farming, planting crops, kind of that whole deal. So what I made here is a harvester and a planter. You can see they don't take up too much energy. Even if they're both running, they won't max out the conduit lines, because this one takes 240 per work and this one takes 160 per work. So that should be fine. Planter, obviously, plants our seeds to the ground. Harvester, obviously, harvests the plants. So I've picked out a spot right here. And the planter, you're supposed to put one level below the surface, so right there. And you can see if you make a persistent sledgehammer, which requires plastic, which I didn't really explain this too much, but there are plastic trees in the world, and you chop them down, you get raw plastic, you cook it, you get refined plastic, I think, and then you cook it again, and you can get raw plastic, which you can make into plastic sheets, which you use for the persistent sledgehammer, which is basically MFR's wrench. You're kind of noticing a theme now. Everything has its own type of wrench. And if you hold it in your hand, it will highlight the area that the machine will be working in. So you can see here, it's a 3x3 by default, centered around the planter, and 2 above where the planter is located. So that's a good spot for it. And the harvester, I picked out a spot for it. It harvests in, let's see, how do I put this down? I think I put it down like this. It will harvest in front of it. So if I put it right there and hold this, you can see it's harvesting a 3x3 area in front of it. But we want more than that, right? We want a larger radius. And for that, they have this cool little upgrade slot down here. And if you search for upgrade, you can see that there's a bunch of different kinds of upgrades, ranging from least expensive to most expensive. And you can have a massive farm. You can have a radius increase of 11. So if you look at this, you count 11 blocks that way and 11 blocks that way, and in each direction. That would be your total farm size. So that would be huge. I measured out a pretty modest radius increase of 4, so that now you can see it covers exactly the inside of this little house thing I built here. So we're also going to add one into the harvester. Pop that guy in there, and you can see, well, you can kind of see, but they're both this full amount of space right here. So that's set up. Let's connect these guys to power. We've got our conductive iron. We're also going to need some of this conduit binder. There we go. You get 8 of them at a craft, which is pretty nice. So I'm just going to put it right there. I'm going to make sure this is set to only extract energy. I don't need it going back in at all, so that's fine there. That's all connected up. And we're also going to change the configuration here for the bottom to be an output. So now we should find that our machines over here are starting to get power. And again, my texture pack kind of messes up a few things, but usually this red bar would fill up solid when it's full. Same with the work and idle here, but you can see if you hover them over, it gives you some information. So you can tell it's full of energy and it's waiting to do work pretty much right now. It should be the same with the planter. Good deal, so that's full up. And I've also run some item conduits from Ender.io from the planter to the harvester. So what will happen when the harvester harvests trees, or in our case crops, we'll output them to the back, and I have the item conduit line running into 2 barrels here. So basically I'm going to preset one of these barrels to be seeds and one to be wheat. So that's what we're going to get out of this. I'm going to lock these down so they don't change. But I also need seeds to go back into the planter, right? Because the planter needs the seeds to plant. So what you can do is, if I right click on this conduit connector here, we're on the item tab. Right now it says extract. First of all, we want to say insert, so the arrow points into the planter. We want seeds coming from the harvester into the planter. And then we're going to also increase the priority here. And what this does is basically tell items where to go first. So when an item gets sucked out of the harvester here, what's going to happen, first of all, I'm going to put this on always active, so it's always trying to extract items. It's going to look at where it can put it. And say it's extracting a seed, right? It will look at here, and it will also look at the planter. And right now, it'll go to the closest one first, right? If they're both the same priority. So it would constantly fill up this barrel, and nothing would get to the planter, and I'd have to manually move seeds from there to here. But since I put this on priority 1, it's a higher priority, meaning seeds will try to come to this planter first before they try anywhere else. And it would fill up this entire thing with seeds, and I don't really want that. We don't need this whole inventory full of seeds. So what I'm going to do here is just kind of fill up all the slots but one. And I'm going to grab a seed. I'm sure I have one around here somewhere. And I'm going to plant, well, let's see. I'm also going to get a lever right now, because as soon as I put that seed in, actually wait, no I don't. If I were to put that seed in right now, it would use it immediately and plant it somewhere in here. I don't want that to happen. I'm going to click consume stack off, which basically means it will always leave one of every type of thing in here. So it will never run out of seeds. There will always be one seed, making sure that seeds are in fact the only thing that can go into the planter, right? And you can also tell it, you can see there's a bunch of different colors on the top here. They correspond with the colors in the filter. So if I just wanted to, if I wanted to just put seeds, on this side, I could say that, but I don't care. Seeds can go anywhere. Right now this whole farm is going to be just seeds. So that will be fine for that. So that's good. We are also going to need, let me see about this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so another thing we're going to have to deal with here, which actually will be pretty easy, I think, is hydration. 1 bucket in the water will not quite reach the corners, unfortunately. I should have thought about that. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and the outside edges won't be hydrated. So I could either reduce the size of my farm to just have that 1 water block, or what I think I'll do is maybe put water blocks around the outside. That seems reasonable enough. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to grab some water and I'm going to disperse it around the outside. I'm also going to try to grab some more seeds, probably just spend a couple of minutes spamming some bone meal on seeds. And I'll be back when the farm is up and running. Alright guys, so I got my seeds that I needed. I prettied this place up a little bit, and I'll show you how to do that in just a second. But now we have a fully functioning automatic farm, and you can see here I'm starting to get wheat. I only have 1 seed in there because the planter is still building it up. So once this hits 64 right here, we should start seeing an excess of seeds over there too, so that will be good. One thing to note that I didn't mention is this harvester produces sludge as it harvests. So I put a drum up there, kind of like we used to carry the lava, and I'm just going to wait until this fills up with sludge. You want to make sure you don't just let the sludge build up in the harvester, because then it runs much slower. So once this drum is full, I'll probably take it off and just delete the excess fluids with the void pipe. But for now, we'll just let it go into that drum. So I made these kind of slanted, like slopes here with a mod called Carpenter's Box. You can see here there's a bunch of different things you can do with Carpenter's Blocks. I won't go into it too much because it's kind of self-explanatory once you get into it. But basically, you can make slopes like, so you can get like slopes like these or blocks like these, And you can get a whole different bunch of other kinds here. You can get ladders, trapdoors, doors, all sorts of different kinds of things. And then what you do is you can take pretty much any item and just right click it onto there, and it will take the texture of that item. So you can see there that took the texture of glass, obviously. And there are some cooler things you can do. You can just remove it with a carpenter's hammer by shift left clicking. So what I did, I wound up eventually taking my chisel, putting some glass in there, and I saw that I like this glass. This glass looked like kind of like a greenhouse type glass. So the front is clear, obviously, but these angle slopes, I use this kind of sort of greenhouse looking glass type stuff. So that was how I did that. Pretty easy stuff. I'm just going to chisel this back into regular glass, and there we go. Is that a glitch, or did I have another stack in my inventory? Okay. Thought it glitched out and gave me extra glass there for a second. But anyways, we are a little bit past our wrapping up point, so I'm afraid I'm going to have to leave you guys here. Next episode should be interesting. Next episode we're going to have to work on taking the wheat that we get from here. We'll have to... What's going to wind up happening is I want this wheat crafted into wheat flour, and then I have this specialty furnace over here. It's a redstone furnace, and usually it's just used to cook pretty much anything like a regular furnace, but I have this augmentation in here which decreases the energy used, and also when you cook any food you get double. So it can only be used for food with this augment in here, but you get double. So normally I would have only gotten one bread for that, but I got two because I have that augment. So what I'll wind up doing is maybe move this redstone furnace somewhere over here, probably underground. I'll have all this stuff. So we're going to have to craft it, the wheat, into wheat flour. We're going to have to turn it into bread with that redstone furnace. And then we're going to have to figure out a way to drop it onto these Gormalaceae and do it in intervals so that we don't feed it too often, so that it just eats it and does nothing with it. And we don't feed it too little. And we also don't want to feed it when the mana pool's already full. So that should be a pretty interesting episode. So make sure you guys catch that. And I'll talk to you in the next one. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I wanted to mention one quick thing before I actually let you guys go. You know how we made the Sojourner Sash last time? And I was kind of freaking out because it wouldn't let me jump up one high blocks, or I wasn't really actually walking that much faster. Turns out that in a sort of recent update, I guess, it's not too old, but recently they added the requirement of mana. So to make a mana tablet, a bunch of living rock around either a mana pearl or mana diamond, you fill it up with some mana from the mana pool, and then you have to have that in your inventory, and then it will function. So now I can do the whole walking up one high blocks thing without jumping, and you can notice I'm moving a lot faster. So that was my mistake. I'm sure you guys all noticed that right away, you people who are more experienced. But anywho, that was what I just wanted to get off my chest before I ended this episode. So take it easy, guys.